Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. Hope everyone is doing well out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day, great start to your week, and I hope everyone had a great weekend. Here to give you some updated information on what's going to happen weather-wise for the entire lower 48, but we'll speak heavily on California. That's honestly the most active state that we'll be dealing with weather-wise for your Monday, even into your Tuesday. We'll speak on a flooding threat, high wind threat, and even a rare severe weather threat for areas of Central California. Yes, there will be a risk of some tornadoes today in Central California. So we'll speak heavily on that, but of course, we're not going to leave anybody else hanging in this video either across the lower 48. At the very end of the video, we'll briefly, very briefly speak on a big warm-up on the way, but stay tuned for tonight. We're going to get very detailed on what I'm seeing the rest of February. We'll even tease a little bit into March, but we'll keep things right in front of us the next 10 days, which takes us all the way to the last day of February, which this year is the 29th. So we'll speak heavily on that if you're interested on what's to come. I'm not going to speak much on that in this video, but there's a lot of question marks going forward for sure. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Took a little bit of a break this weekend, so was not able to acknowledge any comments. And typically I don't answer the comments on the weekends either, just because things are so go in me and my family's life. So I will get caught up with everything probably this afternoon and get you guys covered there. So let's get rocking and rolling. So the entire country looks pretty quiet, right? But there is some active weather in California ongoing right now. We even have some flash flood warnings around the LA area, points north, really. A lot of heavy snow falling in the higher elevations of California this year. In Nevada, there's a little bit of a break, a little window here in Central California, but there will be some storms that get fired up a little bit later this morning to this afternoon. One thing I am watching, there's a little bit of moisture in Georgia. We'll see if that holds together. Models didn't really indicate that very well, but I will say there's definitely cold air in place in South Carolina. So if you live in like eastern Georgia, kind of south of Augusta, let me know what you're seeing. If you're tuning in from that area, the radar does indicate, even on radar scope, that there is some moisture falling out here. So I'm just wondering if there's any sleet, any light snow flying around in Georgia right now. Probably not. But you guys will have to let me know. There is some rain in Florida, a little bit of light snow shower activity in the Northeast, but definitely not as active in the Great Lakes region in the Northeast today than it has been over the last couple of days with the snow squalls, lake effect snows, and things like that. Middle of the country, pretty quiet. Storm Prediction Center. We will zoom into this once we get to the Western U.S. frame. So I'm not going to talk heavily on this in this kind of frame right now, but this is a big topic. It looks pretty small, but this is covering up pretty much the Valley region, Sacramento, Stockton. You guys, have a slight risk of severe weather. I think this is the first ever in February. So there is a risk of tornadoes, even a risk of hail. We'll speak on that when we start to speak heavily on California, which we will be able to get to that portion of the video pretty quickly, just because there's not a whole lot else to talk about for the rest of the country. There continues to be that slight risk of flash flooding, which means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in a given location. But you still got that moderate risk up, which is at least a 40% risk of flash flood guidance being met, which is around north of the LA region. So, almost a 50-50 shot to get flash flooding. You're getting it right now. You have flash flood warnings ongoing in this area of California this morning already. Watches, warnings, and advisories, 90% of them are in California. Winter storm warnings up for the Sierra Nevada in California and the mountains of Northern California. Flood watches continue to be up for pretty much every county up against the coastline of California. You got high wind warnings up in this mustard color. And yeah, it's pretty active. And then you have that ongoing flash flood warning in this kind of this dark red burgundy color right here. Everybody else is pretty quiet, guys. There's not really anything worth mentioning. There is some winter weather advisories up for northern Utah, but pretty quiet for the most part. So we're going to zoom through this because there's not much to speak on at all. As you can tell, like I mentioned, the HRRR model is not picking up on that moisture in Georgia. I would love to know what actually is falling in Georgia. But we'll take it on through the rest of the day. Any lingering moisture will kind of head on off. We could get some shower activity in the low country of South Carolina, southeast Georgia. We could. But by the time we get into later this evening, there's nothing going on. That low pressure heads on off into the Atlantic. We get into overnight tonight, take it all the way to tomorrow morning, and it's just not, it's just very quiet. It's a very quiet Monday for sure. The Northeast is very quiet also. Starting off this morning, maybe some snow flurry activity out there flying around, but for the most part, we could get some lake effect snows into Ontario, off Lake Huron, very possible. But as far as the U.S., I mean, there could be some snow flurries possible in northern Maine, and then we could get some snow flurries, snow showers that kind of drift into the northern sections of New York State later on into the overnight hours. But most of the next 24 hours is quiet. South Central U.S., there's nothing different out here, very quiet. You're starting to warm up a nice Monday, getting into this afternoon, this evening, overnight hours, all the way into our Tuesday morning. Not a drop or flake of anything. A nice day expected. North Central U.S., you see how fast we're flying through this. There's just not much to talk about. There really isn't. But the North Central U.S., it's also very quiet. Could get some lake effect snow showers, some flurries up here in the UP. But, I mean, if it is, it's not going to be significant at all. We get into our overnight hours. We take it all the way to our Tuesday morning. It is quiet. I'm telling you, it's probably one of the quietest days I've seen in quite some time. Out west is different, though. We'll take a broad look, just like we always do at first. And the first round of moisture is going to surge across Nevada. We're going to get lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow in Nevada, as you can tell. Stay tuned to your local people in this area. And then some of this moisture will make its way into Idaho, where we'll get lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow. And this will continue, kind of lose some steam, but this is when we start to see the thunderstorms. Well, probably before this in Central California, some semi to just flat out discrete supercells are possible. And then if you look down here in California, this steady stream of moisture. But for my folks in California, hang tight with me. We're going to zoom into your area. But as we're getting into the overnight hours, we could get some, snow, almost said snot piling up, some snow piling up here in northeast sections of Nevada, even some snow in the southern higher elevations of Idaho right in here. And that's why we have these winter weather advisories. We're probably going to get some snow that you're waking up to in those higher elevations of northern Utah as we're waking up for our Tuesday morning. And then we can just continue to get this streams of moisture here in the West Coast as we get this cyclone that's just spinning around off the coast of the California and Oregon coastline out here. So let's talk about the severe weather side of this first, and then we're going to take a look at the radar here and like right here in a second. But let's talk about the severe weather as far as the alert. So we'll zoom into this. There is a slight risk. This does include Sacramento, which is a household name. Most people have heard of Sacramento, Yuba City, Elk Grove, Stockton. You guys are all included. Roseville. You guys are all included in this slight risk. Yeah, not San Francisco. You guys are always surrounded by an area of more stable air that prevents any kind of severe weather for you guys. So very small kind of baby area for a slight risk of severe weather. Okay, that's a level 2 out of 5. I know you guys probably aren't quite as familiar with severe weather categories out here in California. But in this brown area, that means there's a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location in the brown area. Okay? Includes Sacramento and all those cities I just mentioned a second ago. Hail threat, there is now a 5% risk of hail. We could get some hail in these storms. And then the wind threat, there is a 5% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in this area. Okay, but it's really driven off the tornado threat today. But if we continue to move forward here, we're going to take a look at what the latest long-range HRRR model shows. This is San Francisco right here. Sacramento is right in here. Stockton. And as this main push of moisture continues to kind of head off to the east and northeast, we'll kind of get an opening, and we could get some unstableness of the atmosphere that gets going right into here. And if you notice, some of these storms are kind of discrete, and this is really going to happen as we get into this afternoon. This is around lunchtime out west. We're starting to get some more rounds of storms moving through the area, and some of these storms, and I know this looks everywhere, and you're thinking, this looks everywhere to me, Mitch, and I don't blame you. It looks everywhere to me too. But this is around 3 p.m. and you just see these storms right here in this region, right into here. So those storms could become discrete, could take advantage of the atmosphere, and really what we're watching here is a very, very favorable, what we call kinematic atmosphere in place. The ingredients kinematic-wise are in place. You're going to have a big wind field that's going to be slashing California because of this low pressure off the coast of California. So you're going to be on that right quadrant of this wind field. So these storms are probably going to all produce some gusty winds that are moving through this area. Okay, we'll back it up a little bit. I mean, this is around 10, 11 a.m. California time out here, and this continues, and we start to get into this afternoon. All these storms will probably produce some gusty winds because of this kinematic wind field in place right here. But you're going to have some storms that are going to take advantage of all the atmospheric players out there. There's a little bit in the way of some thermodynamics, but in general, you're not going to find high-end thermodynamics in California. You're just not. The dew points will be in the 50s, which, is on up there for the valley regions of California. But it's really the kinematic atmosphere that's driving this. Okay, but we got to watch for all these storms over the next 24 hours. And here it goes. I think it gets going. We got to watch as soon as we get into late this morning. These storms right into here could produce some severe weather. And we look at that kinematic wind field. These are winds at 850 millibars, which is around 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air. Okay, so you see all these, reds and oranges right into here. These are higher winds. So, if we look down here, this is in general. Just think of this as a 35, about 45 knot low-level jet. In some areas, it's pushing over 50 knots. So this kind of moves into the valley regions of California. And as you can tell, right in here where that slight risk is. So you're going to have a 30 to 40, 45 knot low-level jet. That's winds pushing, 50 to 60 miles per hour, about a mile above your head if you live in California. So there's definitely going to be a lot of lift. So we're not going to have any issues with thunderstorms actually developing. But there's going to be a lot of wind energy to tap into these storms for sure. And this will continue throughout the afternoon, the evening. And then that favorable wind field will kind of diminish as we are getting into late tonight into tomorrow morning. But it's already whipping out there this morning. It's already moving in place. So you're definitely going to have favorable kinematics, which is that favorable wind field. So you look at the updraft velocity swath, it doesn't look very impressive. And this basically indicates where there could be rotation in some of these storms. That doesn't mean there's going to be a tornado where you see this area right here. It just indicates rotation in this run of the HRRR model. And, it's not that high, but this doesn't always show the picture. It really doesn't. But this is the area to watch out for right into here. So if we're talking about a little bit further south, down here to LA, our friends down San Diego, we're already getting this steady stream of moisture in, and this will shift to the south, a little bit further south down the California coastline, starting to move into LA probably later this afternoon. You'll just get a big time feed of kind of moderate rain, even at times heavy rain that will move into the Southern California coastline. And then this will eventually reach San Diego as we're waking up tomorrow morning, and you guys will start to get some rain. I don't think you'll get a whole lot, but I think San Diego will begin to get hit a little bit more late tomorrow night into our Wednesday morning. So we'll speak more on that when we get a little bit closer. But, rainfall in general for the entire state of California. Now, this is precipitation, so some of this is falling in the form of snow. But up against the California coastline, this is rain in general in the Northern California coastline and a few counties back east. In general, about 2 to 3 inches of rain, maybe an inch and a half around San Francisco, and around LA to San Diego. LA will probably get a couple inches of rain at least. San Diego, this rain starts to add up probably a little bit more so tomorrow night into our Wednesday morning. We're going for around a half inch to around an inch of rain in these areas, but you guys will start to get hit even harder throughout the next 24 to 48 hours down here. But we'll take a look at snow. A lot of snow is going to pile up in the Sierra Nevada, just like it always does this time of the year in these kind of atmospheric river type setups. So if we take a look at some of these graphics, the National Weather Service out of Medford speaks on this higher elevation snow in Northern California. And, here's a little bit of a discussion here. Will affect mainly elevations above 5,000 feet through 10 p.m. Tuesday. And this was issued last night for this area. So not that old. A lot of these graphics, kind of linger around though a lot and are kind of old when I show it to you. But they just kind of update them a little bit less frequently, I guess. But talking about the National Weather Service out of Sacramento, they do speak on the severe weather threat. Here's a cool graphic, and they issued this morning. Most likely time frame for severe weather, severe thunderstorms is noon to 8 p.m. Impacts brief tornadoes, large large amounts of small hail. So what they're saying is, there's not going to be any storms that produce like that baseball size hail like you see in Texas or the middle of the country. There's going to be storms that produce a lot of small hail. Could be one of those scenarios where you get a hailstorm in areas of Central California and it covers the ground with a whole lot of small hail. So heavy rain, lightning, gusty winds. Okay, National Weather Service out of Reno. Nice discussion here if you want to check this out. But this was issued yesterday afternoon. So this is a little old, but I doubt a whole lot of it's changed. Stop the screen if you need to right here if you live in these higher elevations. By the way, if you live in the Sierra Nevada and you're tuning in, that's pretty awesome. So let me know. But here's a nice graphic from the National Weather Service for you folks in the central and northern sections of the Sierra Nevada. We take it down to LA. They don't have really any fancy graphics for us that we all like. I'm definitely more of a picture book guy, so I love the graphics. But stop the screen if you need to. It discusses snow too. 1 to 3 feet of snow possible above 7,500 feet. You got to get on up there. Damaging wind gusts 40 to 60 miles per hour in the mountains and central coastline. 20 to 40 mile per hour gusts elsewhere. So there is an increased severe weather threat across southwest California. So it does mention that because it does cover kind of the southern end of that severe weather threat. Isolated totals of up to 10 inches possible. And Santa Lucius, I think is how you pronounce it. And Santa, I think someone's already corrected me on this, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But Santa Ynez ranges. So you guys definitely correct me. Don't want to spend too much time on that. But here's kind of a blurry graphic from this morning. I don't know why this always looks kind of blurry from my folks down here in San Diego and north of San Diego. San Diego, they're still going for about a 1/2 inch to 7/10 of an inch of rain as of right now. A little bit up the road, up Interstate 15, Interstate 5. You guys are going to get more in the way of maybe 1 inch to 2 inches of rain. So temperatures today, warming on up in Texas and the south central U.S., man, all the cold air is locked into Canada. I mean, you're going to start to thaw out big time if you got any lingering snow on the ground, which I'm sure some areas do across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. It's definitely going to melt a lot. Today, the Northeast is kind of the only area. You got to get on up into the interior Northeast. It's locked in below freezing, but it's warming up all the way up into the north central sections of the country again. And it's pretty warm out west too, guys. I mean, this is warm. This is a warm system moving in. That's why the snow levels are so high. I mean, it's temperature-wise, it's pretty nice. I mean, it really is. I mean, someone might hit 60 degrees in Montana today. So, no real cold air. The big warm-up's already started. And speaking of the warm-up, between the 24th and the 28th, you might as well just say the last few days of February, above average temperatures. The chance for above average temperatures are pretty much like 80 to 90% across the middle of the country. But you have a chance to be well above average in these areas. So the middle of the country is going to torch. And then the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, which takes us through the last couple of days of February through the first few days of March. Above average temperatures are going to still continue to dominate the central and even the eastern portion of the country. You're going to probably have a chance to be well above average in the Great Lakes region. Does look like we're going to get a big trough out west. I think that'll be a big topic. I think we'll have a big storm system probably to round off February. We'll speak more on that in tonight's video. But yeah, I mentioned at the beginning of February, is February going to retake its claim as a winter weather month? And we've had some events in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. But we still have yet to see that blockbuster winter storm in the eastern U.S. El Nino is notorious for producing those big nor'easters in the Northeast. Just haven't seen it. And March can still do it too. We know that. But February just dropped the ball again. And, I'll be honest, I'm not trying to go on and drive a stake in the rest of February as far as winter weather. But from what I'm seeing, and I know as we get into the 27th, 28th, 29th February, that's getting kind of far out still. February is just going to drop the ball again on being a winter weather month, especially across the Southeast. So, just the way it is. It feels like these days February is just an early extension of spring, but it is what it is, guys. But stay tuned for tonight. We're going to figure out what's going to happen. March can do some weird things. Okay, I think even for the South. March can do some really, really weird things. We all know that. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have a great Monday, great start to your week. And yeah, talk to you soon.